So this is where we're going to be taking this assignment. So I'm going to turn off my grid, show guides, show grid, there we go. And I'm going to hit the play button. I'm in the wrong one, go back to this one. There we go. So this concept that we're doing, it's, you don't typically see it as much as I'm showing it here, okay? This is basically unfolding. This is basically like the signs thing, but what I'm doing is creating a bigger structure here. I'm basically unfolding all these different shapes. And the reason for it is because I want you to understand these concepts. I want you to do this over and over and over again, even in this one assignment, so you understand what is happening. So this is something where, bless you, where we're using it one way, but this is stuff that can be used in a number of different ways. Even when you get into like doing a character inside of After Effects, you can use 3D layers in the unfolding process to control some of it. Okay, so the concept with this is essentially the same thing that I showed last class. Okay, it's just on a different scale, and we've got some extra bonus stuff. Now, one of the things with creating this is that I want to be able to put a graphic on whatever it is I unfold. Okay, so in this case, what I've done is you'll see that down here, I don't have layers. What I have are compositions. Okay, and these are all basically the same exact composition. This is this one, and this one has this animation of all these H's, and they just go there. And that was just my tester. That's not something I would actually put on there. It's just a testing item just to verify that it works, and it goes across each one of these specific items. Okay, so these unfold, and then all the H's go into that. Okay, so I'm going to make a new comp, or a new project. I'm going to make a new comp now, and it's going to be 1920, it's going to be 1080. I'll leave it at 30 seconds. And then I want to create a piece of artwork that I could unfold. Okay, now the concept for this is very simple. I'm just going to create a solid. I'll make it a color like that, something I want to look at for a while, like that. There you go. Okay, so something like this. Now if I go and I started to, let's say, shrink this down, then whatever I put in here is automatically be shrunk down. Okay, so I don't want to do that. What I want to do is use what's called masks. Okay, we've kind of looked at those before when we did our the Ripley type stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go to a mask. So if I click on here and I draw a mask, you can see how it's not resizing that. What it's doing is revealing. So all that little square is doing is revealing that portion of that layer. Okay, now just so we can see that a little bit clearer, I'm going to go to Effect, I'm going to go to Generate, and I'm going to put a 4-color gradient on here. Okay, that way we can actually see when I cut it, there's a difference. If I resize this, you can see how all 4 colors get resized. If I go with a mask and I do this, you can see how it's just grabbing a portion of that image. Okay, so think of like a clipping mask or an alpha channel or something inside of Photoshop.
How did you select the mask?
Just right here. So the same way we would create a shape layer, we just go to that. Okay, now when you have a layer selected like a solid and you go to this tool, it creates masks. If I don't have that selected and I do this, it creates a shape. Okay, so it's kind of smart in how it figures that stuff out.
And you do pen tool on that same image.
Pen tool is the same exact thing. Yep. So okay, so if I do that, you'll see that it does that. So like the unfolding, was that?
So as long as it's selected and then we like click the rectangle or the pencil, it's just gonna make a mask.
Correct. Okay, so the way he did the U was he used this. That's how he unfolds the U, is he uses this kind of shape. But we're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to create squares. Whoopsie daisy. Now I want to make sure that this is even. Okay, so I want to make sure that all of my squares are evenly spaced in a grid format. Okay, so I'm going to go to View and turn my grid on. This grid is way too dense, so I need to condense it so it's actually something I can see. So if I go to my preferences and I go to display, not display, grids. And I go to where my grid is, you can see it says grid lines every 80 pixels, and it says subdivisions 4. That means every 80 pixels I'm going to have a grid line, but it's also going to cut that into 4 pieces. Okay, so I don't want it cut into 4 pieces. Let me just get rid of that. And then let me take my grid lines every up to, I think I had it at 240. I think that was a good number. Okay, I'll hit OK. Yeah, I think that was it. Okay, so now I have these big grids. Obviously, it's a lot easier to see. The smaller your grids, the smaller your boxes are going to be, and so it's going to be a lot more work. I would say stick to 240, but if you really want to try something different, you can go smaller on here. Okay, but obviously we need enough to actually do something with. Preferences, grids. I'm going to just change the color of those lines just so I can see them better. Maybe I'll make it red, bright red. There we go. All right, so now I can see those. So now what I'm going to do is I need to start creating my masks. If I start creating my masks right on here, I'm kind of locked to that item, okay? Meaning that I can't really change solid 1. If I want to put a picture of a dog, I can't because solid 1 is there, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to pre-compose it, okay? So you know how before we've created a composition and we put it inside of a composition? That's what this is going to do, but it does it kind of the opposite way. It takes a layer and makes it a composition, and then just we see the composition here, not the layer. All right. So watch what happens when I pre-compose. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to say source image. I'll say move all attributes to the new comp and hit OK. So now this says source image. I don't have my editable features here to edit my gradient. My effect is gone. But if I double click this, it takes me right back to this. So I can click on my solid. I can click on my colors and move them around if I need to. All right. I could adjust, let's say jitter. I could adjust the opacity. Okay. I can adjust any of those features.
How did you get to that menu?
Just when we double click this source image, it brought me back to that layer.
Okay.
And because I added this effect to it, it had that on there. Okay. So that effect will travel with it. All right. So the cool thing about this is that let's say that I did want to bring in a picture. Okay. So I'm going to go to pictures, sample pictures, and oh, adorable. So let's say I'm going to take a koala bear and drop him in here. So there's a koala. And if I go back to my comp now, you'll see that the koala is now inside there. All right. So you saw the one of the map where the map is doing its thing. That's what they did, is they had one composition that was an animated image of what the map's supposed to do. That composition is what gets folded, okay? So this here, this source image, I could do whatever I want to. I could rotate it, I can mask it, I can, wrong program, I can move it over, okay? And it's not affecting this, that's still there. It's only affecting the flattened out version of this, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. Let me undo all that. Okay, so here I could have this picture animate and bounce into the screen or whatever. And then on this one, I could actually create the unfolding process. Okay, so this is where it might get confusing because now we're working in 2 different compositions. Okay, all we need to do though for the setup is just have, we don't need the koala, as cute as he is. We just need to have the comp that has our source image composition. There's the icon for composition, so we know it's a composition. And then we need to have this one that just has something on it so we can see the colors of it. Okay, just to make that easier. All right, so now what I'm going to do is create my first mask. So I'm going to go to my rectangle tool, and I want to click and drag and make sure that this is snapping. If I click and drag here, did that snap to it? To the grid? No. Okay, so I'm going to hit undo. I'm going to go back to view, make sure that snap to grid is on right there. And I'm going to click and drag again. Okay, now I'm also holding down shift so it constrains it to a square. And you can see right there, it is definitely snapping it right to that spot. Okay, so now I have this mask perfectly lined up. Now the way that I did this before in that example one is I went out and I drew every mask first. That was the easiest way for me to do that. And then I came back and then I animated each mask. Okay, you can do it however you want. I'm going to show 2 different ways. okay? So the first one, I'm going to draw out all the masks first. So I drew one mask. So I'm going to duplicate this composition layer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Okay. Yep. So then I'm going to move the mask over. So if I leave number 1 here, right there in the corner, I'm going to go to number 2 and I'm going to move it. Now if I switch to my move tool and I just do this, that's not moving the mask. What that does is it moves the layer itself. Okay? So that moved this composition. It didn't move the mask, it moved the composition. If I jump back to the comp, I should be able to see green if I move this all the way to the bottom. Okay? So if I move this all the way down here, I should see green, but I don't. Okay? Because what I'm doing is literally just picking up that whole thing and just shoving it down. So I have to make sure that when I move it, I'm actually moving the mask. So I click on that layer, I hit M for mask, and then I can click on it and then move it over. Okay? Now, you don't really see a huge difference in there. I think my opacities are also still down. No, they're not. Not sure why that one is a bit dimmer. Yeah. All right. On that one? Oh, I didn't. Oh, on here I did. Yep, thank you. Better. All right, cool. There we go. So now that's going to blend nicely. So if I go here, hit M, click the mask, and then drag this over, you'll see that it's going to pick up different parts of the image, and that's what we want. So then I would go to the next one, hit M, click on mask, drag this over to the next box. Click on this, hit M, click the mask, drag that over to the next box. Okay, now I can actually go through and grab all of these and hit M, and then it'll do it. So if I grab these 3 and hit M, it'll automatically open them. Sometimes it's a bit tricky to remember which one did I click last. So if you have no problem remembering that, then it's not an issue. So I'm verifying that each time I move this over, that I am getting a brand new image. I'm getting a brand new section of this thing inside here. Okay. So I'm going to hit M to close all these again, and I have those. So now that I have all of these laid out, I'm going to go to the next one. So the next one I would duplicate. I would go down to 9, hit M, click the mask, drag it down. Okay, then I would duplicate it again, click on 10. The mask is already out, so I can just scoot it over. Okay, so whatever workflow you want to do, it's up to you as to how you move this around. Okay, so eventually you have to have masks for everything that's in there. Now once you have one row, I don't know what happened there. Once you have one row, it would be nice if you could duplicate it and move all the masks at once, but you can't. Okay, so I move those down. I would click on the next one, click on the mask, drag it down. Go to the next one's mask, drag it down. Go to the next one's mask, drag it down. Okay, so you get the idea of what I'm doing here, just dragging down each one of these things into the next spot. Okay, I'm just going to do this next row. There we go. And then we'll get into the animation part of this. Okay, it's pretty simple once you get it going, and especially because they're right there, it works out pretty good. Okay, so now I have all of these. I'm just going to hide my masks. And what we need to do is make these things rotatable. Okay, if I grabbed all of these right now and I hit R for rotate and I rotate them, they're going to rotate, number 1, around the center point, which doesn't really make sense. And number 2, they're rotating in a 2D fashion. We need them to rotate in a 3D fashion so it could look like we're unfolding something. Okay? So we need to click on this 3D layer. Once we click the 3D layer, then we'll get the X, Y, and Z rotation. And now if we rotate, you can see now it looks like we're rotating these things like this. Now because each one of these items is already locked to the same position, everything's rotating together. What we need to do is figure out how each one of these items is going to rotate. Okay, so there's a very straightforward way to do that. Okay, so this is how I did it, is I hit Alt, print screen. I made sure I could see all of this stuff. I hold down Alt, I hit print screen. what that does is it takes a snapshot of my image. Because I have to plan out how do I want each one of these things to unfold. Thinking of a box, if a box, let's say just one side of a box falls down, and then I want these things to unfold like this, which order do I want that to happen in? Okay? Do I want it to be this top box would fall down, let's say, and then this one would fold out, then this one would fold out, then this one would fold out, then this one, then this one? Or do I want like a middle one to fall out, and then this one and this one unfold, and then that one unfolds from this one, and then this one unfolds from that one? Okay? So it's kind of like I have to plan out the path of this. So I'm going to go to Photoshop now. It was open. There it goes. I'm going to make a new document. I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm just going to Control V to paste it. Okay? So when you do Alt Print Screen, it takes a screenshot. You go to Photoshop, you paste it in there, and there it is. Okay? So all I need to do is I'm going to go to my crop tool just to crop this in because I only need this area. And then I'm just going to use just my brush. Just going to go in with a brush and just say I want to start here. There we go. And I'm going to go this way, then 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 that way. And then this one's going to go like this. And then this one will go here, 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 and then there. Okay? So that's the path of unfolding. So this one right here is going to be my main one. If I did the entire box, I'll show that in my other one, it would probably be like this one, or that one is my center that all of these are going to kind of unfold from. So once this one starts, then these are my first ones that are going to unfold. I have to know this path beforehand because I need to know where it's going to unfold from. So this box on the left is going to unfold from this edge. This box up here is going to unfold from this ledge. This box here is going to unfold from that edge. Okay? When we get here, it unfolds from that edge. When we get here, it unfolds from that edge. Okay? So I have to know the path so I know which edge that it's going to unfold from. So I'm going to just shove this off to the side here real quick. And this was my first box. Yes, okay. So this is my first box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my pan behind anchor point tool and click on it. Now this one is my first one. It doesn't matter where its pivot is, but I want it to be centered. So I'm just going to move it, hold down Control, and let it snap right to the center. Okay? That way it's centered so I know where it is. The next one is going to pivot from this edge. Okay? So it's going to unfold from that edge. So I need this pivot to be right here. So I'm going to click and drag, hold Control, and snap it there. Click on this one. It's going to pivot from this edge. I hold Control, drag it there. Click on this one. It's going to pivot from this edge. Hold Control, and drag it there. Okay? So now each one of these is going to pivot from that spot. So just so we can see where the what this is going to look like. If I open up the rotate, there it is. I'm going to grab this one and that one. And this is what sucks about having just it on a single screen. I can't see all my stuff. Okay. So now as I rotate this, not that way, this way. So you can see how they're pivoting right from that edge now. So if I were to animate this, I could animate it so it looks like these pieces are indeed unfolding and not doing something crazy. Okay? And then this top one here, that one, he's going to unfold like this. Okay, just like that. All right, so now my next one. So let me look at the next one. So I just did these three, so I can just put a little X, maybe a different color. I'll just put the little line right there saying that I did it. Good. Okay. So the next one is going to be, this one is going to be on the bottom. This one is going to be on the right. So I'll switch back over. So I did that one already. This one is going to be on the bottom. So I switch to my pan behind tool, hold Control, and snap it in there. This one will be on the right. So I hit the pan behind tool, snap it in there. So that's this one's done now, and this one's done now. So then I go to the next ones. This one here is going to be on the right. This one's going to be on the left. This one's going to be on the left. And then that one will be on the right. Okay. And then this one's going to be here. And then this one is going to be here. And if you get these wrong, like as you're doing them, you can always come back and adjust it. It's not a huge deal. We just like to start off in a good spot so we don't have to keep adjusting it. So I'm just moving these pivots so that they're in the spot that they would need to be to rotate correctly. That's in the right spot. This one is rotating off of there. This one is rotating off of there. Okay. So now if I were to grab all my objects, you'll see that there's none that are down here. Okay. That's where all the pivots originally were. Because they're not there, I know that I've moved them all at least. Okay. Maybe they're not in the right spot, but at least I've moved them. All right. So now what I'm going to do is go through and animate these. Okay. Like I said, this one is my main one. He's going to stay exactly there. This one and this one are going to be the first two that pop out. So I'm going to hit R. I'm going to set a keyframe on their rotate. So which way? Their rotate Y. Okay. So I'm going to do them kind of one at a time because they rotate differently. Okay. I also want to make sure they're rotating backwards. If they rotate from the front, it's actually kind of weird because it pops in and we can see this pop in happen. So I want to make sure it rotates from the back so we don't see anything kind of pop into place. So I click a little keyframe here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. Rotate it so it's going backwards. Then I go up a little bit. Let's say
Going backwards makes it look forward when you go to the animation.
well, it's going to go forward, right? Because it's going to be behind it, and then it's going to rotate forward.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'm just going to reset this back to 0, and then reset this one back to 0. Okay. So now we have this. Okay. So you can see how it looks like those are unfolding from it. Then I can go to the other one. I can go to this top one and find where he is. Hit rotate. This is going to be rotate X, I believe. Yep. Okay, make sure it's rotated back. Set a key. Go to about 20, I think I set it to. Yep. I'm going to reset that to 0. Okay, so now they're all unfolding right from that one. Okay, so now I need to go to the next one. So I'm going to go to this one. And let's see, this one. Let's do one at a time. Sometimes I get confused if I do too many at once. So I'm going to go to this one. There we go. Set a key here. Scoot it up to 20. Reset that to 0. Okay. Cool. Now let's go to the next one, which is this one. Now if I see that I'm doing the same thing, like see how this one is rotating from the left to the right, right? Okay, so it's going in that same direction. And then this one is going to be doing the same thing. Okay, there's nothing wrong with me grabbing this one, copying those keyframes, and then just pasting it on whichever one is doing the same exact thing. Okay, so I just copied, Control C, went down and pasted it, Control V, and now it's good. Maybe I can adjust this just a little bit because I don't like where that's coming right there. Okay. All right, and then this one's going to go upwards. So again, if I find one that's doing the same thing, and I copy it, and then I paste it, all right, and then this one's going to be doing the same exact thing, so I'll hit R, I'll paste it. Okay, and
to copy and paste, you're just hitting rotation and C and V.
Yep, you just click right on the word to copy everything, or click right on the word, hit Control C, and then when I go to another one, I just click on that and hit Control V, and it'll paste the exact same thing. So if this is X rotation, it'll paste X rotation. Okay. if I were to click on, let's say this one and paste it X rotation, you'll see how it goes right under X. Now the neat thing is if I were to click on, let's say Z rotation and paste, it'll paste it right into it. Right into Z's rotation as opposed to the X one, which is where those keyframes came from. Okay, so it is kind of smart about how it remembers what we're copying and pasting. It also has to make sure that we're zoomed or rewound back to the beginning. All right, so then we have a couple more left. We have this one. And I don't remember what I copied already, so I'm just going to set these manually. That one's going to go here, there, that. And then this one's going to be going down. Okay, now this one went forward. See that, how I rotated it forward? So I'm going to rotate it back like that. There we go. Cool. And then this one's going to come off to the right side. Good. And then this one is going to come off of the X. Good. And then this one's going to come off of this side. So you see how it's just a repetitive thing of just which way is it supposed to rotate, and then just setting some keyframes. Notice I haven't adjusted any of the keyframes yet, so I will adjust those too. Oops. There we go. I think this one could probably use some rotate also. Let me just fix that. Alright, now back to this one. Whoops. And then this one's going to come down, so that'll be X. Okay, and it's backwards, so we'll rotate this way. Go. And this one will be in the Y direction. And I'll just need to reset this so it comes from the back. Cool. And then this one will be from the bottom, so that'll be the X. Okay. So now it looks like all of these are doing what I need them to do. Okay, they're all coming from the back. Yep, that's good. Okay. So then what I need to do is I need to adjust their keyframes. Obviously, we don't want all these to be linear, just like we've talked about before. Why didn't you open up? Oh, you're the main one. Just like we talked about before, we don't want these to ever be just like linear because that's kind of boring. So we right-click, easy ease them, and then we can go to our graph editor and make sure it's on a speed graph. Make sure we're framed. Fancy. And then I'm going to pull this into the middle. Oops. Okay, that way it gives us some time to actually see it. Now at this point, we really want to look at this animation and make sure that the animation seems to be reading correctly. If it happens too fast or it happens too slow, we're going to lose the animation. Okay, it's going to basically be something we don't want to have to go back to and undo. Now it looks like it's pretty good. Okay, 20 frames. If I needed to, I can come back and grab all the keyframes and squeeze them in if it goes too slow, or spread them out if it goes too fast. But I think the speed of them is pretty good. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save my work. So I'm going to hit Control S, demo. All right. And now I need to go through and start offsetting these because they're not in the right order, right? I don't want everything just to be like this. That doesn't look good. So I'm going to go through and grab these three. Now, one thing that helps me as I'm doing this is kind of resorting these. Because these are 3D layers, remember that the stack order doesn't matter. So however I have these stacked is irrelevant because this one here or up here, they're all in 3D, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to drag these to the top. And then I'm also going to drag this other one to the very top. Okay? That way I know what the order should be. So here's my first 3. I'm going to just drag this one off a little bit, drag this one off a little bit, and drag that one off a little bit. Okay, so now we get this. Okay, where these are unfolding right there. All right, so now I'm going to go to my next one. So this one here is the next one in line. Okay, so there was my first one that we just did. The next one is going to be the one to the right of it. So this one should come in after this one's done. Okay, so after this one comes in like this, that one should be coming in. So I'm going to drag him right underneath that one and then scoot him over so he comes in after the fact. Okay, so when the first one comes in, let me hide all these just so it's a little bit not so confusing to see. So there's, hey, where'd you come from? Oh, you're number 6. Get out of here. There you go. Okay, so these are going to pop open, and then that one should pop open like right at the end of it. Okay, and then I'm going to go to my next one. I need to turn these on so I can see which the next one is. So the next one will be up here. That'll go right underneath this one. And you can visually see where the next one's supposed to be. Okay, and then it'll go to this one. And these aren't lined up perfectly yet. I'm just kind of dropping them in and just offsetting them so I can see that there is a definite difference. And then this one. And then this one. And I'm not even looking at the animation above. I'm just looking at the order that these need to be in. Okay, so that's good. So now I'm going to go to this one. Okay, so this is number 2. The next one is that one. So I'm going to drag this one under number 2 and then offset it from number 2. And that's the only one number 2 does. Okay, here's the second one I did. So it goes here, which is number 4, and then it goes to this one. So I'm going to drag this one under number 4. And these ones should actually have been under the other number, under 1, 2, 3. Oh no, right, yep, that's right. There we go. Okay, so this is the first one. This one is here. Then this one. Oops. So that should be under 4. 4, 5, yep. Okay, I'm going to offset it from 4. I'm going to go to this one, which is 6. That should be offset from that one. I'm going to go to this one, which should be offset from 6. I'm going to go to this one, which should be offset from 7. So I'm just moving it down to the chain. And then the next one, which is going to be 8. Okay, so now if we rewind this and look at it, oops, make my work area bigger, we can see how this unfolds from that one. Okay, so now all we've done is just kind of reposition when these things happen. So now what I want to do is I want to parent them. Okay, so we did this before with the signs. So I'm going to take number 3, which is here, and I'm going to parent it to number 2. I'm going to take number 2 and parent it to number 1. Okay, now it's not going to be a huge, I'm not going to see anything big happening here, but okay, so those two are just connected together now. Okay, so I go to the end of this again, and I'm going to follow the next one. So this goes all the way to number 9. So 9 is going to be to 8, 8 is going to be to 7, 7 is going to be to 6, 6 to 5, 4, and then this is the main one that comes right off of the center. Oh, yes. So 4 will go back to 1. Okay. Then I'll go down to the next section. I can see where the section starts. I can see this is my main one that folds off, and then all of these fold from that. So I just go to the very last one, and I just parent it right to the one before it. That's all I'm doing. There's 13, 12, 11, 10, and then when I get to this one, it's going to go back to number 1. So now if we watch this, It's a bit more dynamic because as one is unfolding, the other one is right here. So it starts to unfold a little bit sooner. Okay, so you can kind of see that as these things are coming around. You can see that as this one is coming this way, watch there, you can kind of see the other one already kind of starting to come off of it. And it's moving with it too, which is awesome. If we want to accentuate that a little bit more, I can just go here to this and just scoot it in more. Okay, so now you can see as this one comes in, it's actually moving with it and rotating. So it actually feels like it's more of like a 3D box instead of just these layers kind of popping into place. Okay, I'm going to put it back a little bit more though. Okay, so that's pretty sweet how that all comes together. Now we have one more thing that we need to do, well, to this comp. Okay, so just so you can see this, I'm going to animate something on this layer. Okay, so this is our composition. So I'm going to take this red box. I'm just going to send this to screen, put that on I guess I'll leave that normal. All right, so I'm going to take this red box here, and I'm going to just animate this from here to 5 seconds, just going like that. Okay, so it just goes bloop, just like that. Now if I go back to my comp, you can see we're getting this kind of like weird effect. I should probably move that so we can actually see it in the area that we animated. Here to there. Okay, back to this. Okay, so that's kind of a neat effect that we're getting for sure, but it's not what we want. Okay, in this case, what we want to do is we want it to look like that's like an animated movie. Any guesses of why that's happening? Layers. Yep, that's exactly it. So I moved each one of my layers over. So what's happening is this layer number 14 doesn't actually start the animation until right here. But layer 13 started it a few frames ago, and layer 12 started it a few frames ago. So that's how we're getting this like weird offset thing. So that actually could be like a cool effect if we were doing something where we wanted to have this kind of neat offset. But in this case, let's say we don't want to have that. So the way that I fix that is I go back to, I'm going to rewind this and zoom in. I go to my layer 2. Now your pan behind anchor point tool, it could also be used to resize or reposition where our timeline is starting or where our layer is starting. So if I click on this and I drag this side of it, what? Come on, drag. Try this again. Why aren't you playing nicely? No, I have to do that. Something is askew. Let me save this real quick. Let me go to my other file. See, that one's working. Why aren't you working? 20 seconds. Let me make my composition here longer. Possibly it doesn't like that. So I'll make it 50 seconds. No. Alright, we'll have to figure out why that's not working, because it should be working. It just did on the other one. Now it's working. Or did. There we go. Oh. I was clicking too close to the end. There we go. So you'll see the difference here. See the 2 arrows and then that. There we go. So I'm just dragging this so that they actually start right at the beginning of this. So what it does is it moves the start of your composition to here, but it keeps the keyframes over there. Okay? So that's what we want to do to all of these. So we don't actually need to see the keyframes. All I need to do is make sure that I'm clicked and dragging this right here so that it snaps it right to that. Okay, now obviously this is going to take some time if you have every single one of these things done, which eventually you would.
And what exactly is it doing?
It's just repositioning the start of the composition. So all the starts of the comps are the same. So that animation will play the same on every one of those.
Oh, which will eliminate that square as it goes through.
Right.
Okay. It'll still do the same thing and just, okay, as far as the...
Right, the animation should play nice and smooth across all of these now because we've offset this.
And to do that, you're just clicking a little bit before the end of it?
Yep, the pan, make sure you're in the pan behind tool, otherwise we're moving it.
Okay.
And then we're just scooting that over. Alright, so now if we play this, you can see that the cube or square goes right across it. Now ideally what we would have is it would be timed out. It wouldn't be, as this thing is unfolding, we're playing an animation. That's obviously something you could do, but typically you'd have it like unfold and then do something. Okay, so it would unfold and then this animation would happen like further down the chain, like over here. So it unfolds, and then once it unfolds, then the animation would play on it.
I could see that like on one of those cartoons as the map was unfolding, you were showing like, you know, how they're traveling across the world, they're going from here to here.
Right.
Started this, just folding out, yeah.
And then we could draw the map in Illustrator and then pop that in there. Okay. So this will be the first part of this unfolding assignment, is to create this kind of thing. Now watch what else is cool about this. I mean, that's kind of like, they've had this kind of thing before. This is just a fake, it's 2.5D is what we're doing. But they had stuff like that before. But what they didn't have is this kind of thing where we could actually add in lights. So if I add a light into my scene, I can add a, let's add a spotlight. Yes, that's good. That's fine, fine, fine. We'll add a little bit of fall off here. And we'll say cast shadows. Okay, so now I have a spotlight. So I can actually move this around. And you can see how it's affecting this differently. Now watch as it unfolds, how we get kind of like not only a the unfolding part, but we're also getting this nice little reveal where the light's now hitting it different. Now I can rotate the light. Let me move this to the top. I like to have all my lights at the top. Oops. Where'd you go? Oops, I moved something. Let me undo that. Grab my light again and move my light to the top again. There we go. All right, so I can rotate my light up and down, left and right. I could close this and then reopen it to get to all of my light options again. You could also double click the light to get to the light options. You can crank the intensities up. You can feather it. So there's more feather. Here's less feather. So now we're going to get a hard edge. Alright, I don't like the hard edge on there. I want it to be soft, so I feather it. I can change the angle, so maybe it's a spotlight that's really narrow or a spotlight that's really big. And then this radius here is the drop off. Cool. So I can duplicate the light. I can move it over. I can rotate this light the other way. And see how we get these nice little effects where we're actually getting like some shadows happening in there. So now it's looking, again, more complete than it did before. Even with this horrible 4-color gradient on here in this red box, it looks kind of neat. Okay, now we can take this even a step further, and I could make a camera. All right, and the camera allows me to actually navigate in 3D. So I could actually like see around this thing. I'm going to set this to like a 20 millimeter. Yeah, everything else should be fine for now. Oops. not everything else. I only want a one node camera. So that way I get just less options. Okay, so here's my camera. My camera tools are all up here. Remember, I can hit C to get to those different tools. And then I could spin around the camera. It's thinking. There we go. I'm going to save. There we go. It's possibly thinking. There it goes. The Unify camera tool has all of these inside it. It's just hitting different buttons that allow us to navigate inside there. So the left mouse button allows me to spin around. The middle mouse button allows me to basically just like move the camera, and then the right mouse button allows me to zoom in and out if it allows me to do anything. This is on quarter, which is fine. I don't need the grid anymore either, so let me just turn this off. If it lets me turn anything off. View, grid. I don't know why I just all of a sudden slowed down. Alright, let's see if we're... Nope, it's still slow. When After Effects starts to slow down, it might be a good idea to do what's called purging. Everything you do inside of After Effects is basically being written to the memory and written to the hard drive. And so it could basically fill up the memory and fill up the hard drive pretty quick. So under Edit, there's a button here that says Purge, and then we can purge all the stuff, which basically means just erase the stuff, just get it out of memory. Okay? All memory. Now these green things go away because it's no longer visible, because it's not in memory anymore. What's going on? Why is it going so slow? You're not doing anything. Alright, but now we can see this thing kind of unfolding from a different viewpoint, okay, which is pretty nice. So we're not locked to that front way where we're seeing it. We could actually just move the camera around to get it from different angles. So we could actually take this entire thing and like rotate it downward and then animate all the stuff coming off of that, or animate it coming up a different way, okay? Oh, what is doing now? Let's save this again, and then we'll close After Effects. So much, yeah.
That's all I remember, I'm sure.
Well, it shouldn't be, though. All right. Now, if you need to get back, like right now we're in our camera view, let's say we need to go back to where we could just see where our grid was. Because obviously if we turn the grid back on now, it's not going to show the stuff lined up with the grid. Because the grid is lined up to the comp, it's not lined up to the rest of our work. Okay, it's not lined up to where this camera is. Like, it doesn't rotate the grid with it. So if we switch down here from active view to front. Now we're back to where we initially set it up, okay? So we could turn off the cameras, we can turn off the lights if we need to, just to kind of get back to here. We could tweak stuff and then turn those things back on and move around. I'm gonna go to custom and under every 6. Let's see what that does. All right, there we go. So now we're actually spinning around better. Hide my grid. Oops. All right. So now you can see here's my unfolding box. Okay, and I can show that from, again, any angle. Now once we get further into the class, we'll actually have assignments where we're working with an actual like 3D environment. So stuff like this, you may want to incorporate that into a 3D environment. You can even do stuff like buildings, right? So I could actually populate or create an entire city just by making a couple of these that make a building and then moving those over. All of our stuff got parented to this guy. This is our main cube. So I can move him wherever I need to move him, right? I can just move this around wherever I need to. And I can see the front, I can see the back. The animation still all plays out exactly where it was before, which is pretty awesome. Turn my lights back on, and we'll see that we don't actually get anything from the back, right? So we're not seeing anything because our lights are in front of it. So I would need to turn my lights around if I did that, or move this so that I can see it. Okay, so once you're done with yours, you'll have the entire grid set up. You'll have all of your stuff gridded out so that they all unfold, okay? Now again, think about different ways that you could have them unfold. They should unfold from something else, okay? You don't want them to just unfold and just be there. It should be like one side unfolds, then the other side unfolds, then the other side unfolds, and then so on, however you plan that out in Photoshop. Okay, and then also think about, like I said, some sort of graphic that you would want to put on there. And it's just something simple, right? Like you could do a treasure map, you could do an invitation, you could do something, right? Just something simple. All right, save.